Welcome back, everybody, to round 4, game 1. We have Stephen T on the left with Black White Eldrazi, and we have Ryan B on the right with Atarka Red.
And so because it's Atarka Red, we really don't get to talk a lot before the first creature and damage happens, because it has already happened.
It's fun watching this deck. It's just punch after punch into punch. As many punches as you can you're trying to essentially just before your opponent does anything, just get 20 to dead.
Yep.
That's what you're looking for.
Yep. And so Monastery, Swift Spear, Dragon Fodder have already come down in the first 2 turns. Swift Spear has already dealt 3 damage. We're getting 2 more Goblin tokens out, so talking about speed, I mean, turn 2 already taken 3 damage. No fetches have been cracked yet on Steven's side, but Ryan's just been dealing quick early damage with some hasty prowess creatures there. So
another thing with Atarka Red, there are a lot of pump spells in it, burn spells. I mean, the damage is going to come literally out of nowhere. And with 3 creatures already, oh boy.
Or no creatures,
that's fine.
Flame Tendrils comes down from Steven there, so
yeah, that removal. That's pretty much how it's done. He probably had the point where I was like, all right, I have some removal in my hand, I'm not gonna mulligan. It's just how it works. The Habit of Kirk Keep comes out.
Yep, and a fetch land out there so we can get his first green source once he cracks that. Because we have not seen a green source yet, so maybe some green pump spells coming down on Ryan's side of the field there. As we mentioned, Steven did get rid of the initial assault, but there is another creature, so the thing against Atarka Red is you got to get rid of their creatures and hope that they just have a ton of pump spells in their hands. So it looks like a Bearer of Silence comes down on Steven's side of the field.
Giving it -3/-3.
And he is thinking about it, cracking the fetch, looking for something.
There's a possibility he could pump it, try and save it, but might be a big hit right here. He essentially almost had 4 creatures, and now he essentially could have just none.
Yep.
Which would be the right play against Atarka Red. That's just the way it works. The way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and it's you have to look at their resources and your resources, and once Atarka Red's creature numbers dwindle, and as we mentioned, the Abbot does go down, whether he wasn't able to find something or he was just cracking the fetch to have something to do in response to the Bearer of Silence. But here comes another Abbot of Carol Keep down. So Ryan not out of gas yet, which is great again for the Atarka Red deck. And there you go. Also a Swift Spear coming down. So
top deck for the win.
But I don't know that he would attack right now into the Bearer of Silence. It looks like he might. It depends on what he's got in his hand. So the attack is coming in.
He feels like he can do something.
Oh, because a Wild Slash comes down. And he's trying to see where the Wild Slash is going. It's going to face, but Prowess is triggering. So the creature is getting bigger, which will make the bearer a little bit less immediate of a block, and he does take it.
Yep. So he takes the Wild Slash and the Prowess to the face.
So let's see what his follow-up is. There are 2 creatures on the board versus 1, and with pump spells, whatever one doesn't get blocked, you got to believe is going to get pumped up. So Steven's got to put some other threat down or get rid of some of the others.
Steven's got to be nervous at this point. He's got 1 creature, and the opponent has 2 creatures, 4 lands, and an Atarka Red deck. That's pretty much all you need to kill somebody.
It's true. You probably don't even need... Oh, okay.
Oh, it's still crap. Yeah.
So that's a way to get rid of a threat. So now it's 1 creature versus 1, and there's still some mana being tapped on Steven's side. And a Matter Reshaper comes down, and an attack from a Bearer of Silence. Obviously, no board or no blockers on Ryan's side, so he is going to take it. But the Matter Reshaper is there as a blocker. Even if that Matter Reshaper dies, Steven does not care. So
yeah, no. At this point, Ryan has got the reins right now. Steven's at 13. He can do a lot of pump spells. Ooh.
That's huge right there. So quick become immense. Quick Teamer Battle Rage. Steven's just checking to make sure that it does go properly. So that's 1, 2. He's kind of searching his graveyard. 3, 4, 5.
There it is.
So just up.
So
no. He's switching a couple of things around here and there, but tapping the 1 green for it.
That's 3 mana for +6/+6.
Oh, and a Wild Slash comes down.
Double strike. I think that's and another wild slash. I think
Ryan was kind of quick to pick stuff up, but you can see Steven showing the Reality Smasher and the Eldrazi Devastator in his hand, but he knows he's scooping it up. He did lose. They did do the math. Ryan was actually really quick to just kind of try to scoop up his lands, and Steven just needed a second to calculate the math. Sometimes you just don't see it, and so Ryan had it that time. So
yeah. All right, let's talk about sideboard options here at this point. You know you're going against Tarkared, okay? Or your sideboard options have to be removal. Mm-hmm. You have to go for it. Mm-hmm. There's really no other way you can go about it.
And to be honest, low-cost, quick removal.
Yes.
I mean, the big removal, like the Flaying Tendrils was a big game. If he had a second one of those, this game very well may have gone in the other direction. So,
absolutely.
So Flaying Tendrils was a big one if he has more of those. If he's not running a 4 of in the deck and wants to get more, if he has them in the sideboard, that's kind of a big deal. But yeah, as you mentioned, just removal is the game. And then at that point, once you've taken away a Tarka Red's creature base, then you can start getting in, and it doesn't matter with what or when.
And for Eldrazi, you can get in with Reality Smasher, pretty much whatever you want.
That's true.
And just go to town on the Tarka Red deck, but removal. Sideboard in removal.
Yes.
That is going to be the name of the game right now.
And so we'll see. I mean, Steven probably knows that and hopefully does so, and we'll see kind of how that goes. Once Game 2 starts, we'll be back to you for that in just a moment. So guys, we're back. Game 2, is beginning of round 4. So Steven, we saw him go down game 1. Hopefully, as we mentioned, some sideboarding has happened for him. He can get a little bit of a quicker start against some of those other decks. Shambling Vent, it looks like, coming down on Steven's side. So let's see how quick the start is. Exactly the same as last time.
The punches start swinging, but does he have the answers this time is the question.
Right. So
if he sideboarded in like he's supposed to, he'll definitely have the answers for everything that is about to happen to him. Let's put it that way.
And he's played 2 tap lands in a row. Steven has, so this is a little bit exact same thing. Dragon Fodder again coming down. The Prowess trigger happens. He's down to 17. There's 2 Goblin tokens. Does he have the Flaying Tendrils again? Is it literally going to be exactly the same thing we just saw? Or does he have something completely different?
Looks like it's going to be completely different. He's playing a creature.
Okay. So something we've already seen, but not exactly in the same order that it happened. As we mentioned, Matter Reshaper, as I mentioned, I think Matter Reshaper doesn't matter. I guess, yay, that's why the card is named that. It doesn't matter if it dies, you're gonna get a card off the top, and sure enough, it gets wild slashed. So let's see what he hits off the Matter Reshaper. A Flaying Tendrils. So he doesn't get to put it on the battlefield because it's not a permanent.
It's in his hand. Mm-hmm. At this point, Ryan knows what's coming.
It's true. And so actually that's kind of interesting, right? Ryan has 2 mana available to him depending on what he gets. So he has 2 untapped lands now, and he could probably play more creatures if he has them in his hand, but he doesn't want to because the Flaying Tendrils are out. But at the same time, that means that he's kind of could be losing some momentum, and Steven could sit on that Flaying Tendrils as long as he needs to. So it's kind of a toss-up on Ryan's side. If he has more creatures, does he bother doing it? Does he not?
He's got to swing. He has no choice now but to swing. He knows it's in his hand. Mm-hmm. He has the mana for it. Mm-hmm. He's got to swing.
Not this turn, thankfully, but it's happening. A Tarkus Command comes down on Steven's side, so
giving all creatures +1/+1.
Yep, and so we're counting up the math here, and especially with the Prowess trigger also happening. So just, more damage coming down, and things are not looking good for Steven. Again, the Flaying Tendrils is great, but I mean, he's down.
He's below 10.
Yeah, he's down to single digits at this point, so he's got to find something quick, and maybe it is the Flaying Tendrils again.
He got his card in his hand. It's gonna happen. It's whether or not.
Yeah, see, and Ryan had him up even before, so
it's whether or not Ryan can come back from this. If he can come back from this, like swinging, right now there's just an empty board. He's on 4 land.
It's true, and has to pass.
Didn't get what he was looking for.
Nope. Caves of Koilos coming down for Steven. You probably don't want to be tapping that to be taking some damage, but you can make some colorless, and as we've seen, I think I might know what's coming. He's counting it and saying that it's colorless. There's the Reality Smasher. That
that's
card's
5 to the face.
insane. I mean, this isn't modern, but it's still just as scary. So,
Yeah, what do you think Ryan sideboarded in this turn? Since he's really not playing anything, do you think he just went for more spells instead of creatures?
I really don't know. I would say that I thought it was a little interesting, and it's a casual game and a friendly competition. Here comes the Eldrazi Displacer as well. But I thought it was interesting that Steven showed the Reality Smasher. There's the Bearer of Silence again for no value on that one. But still, I mean, 3 big threats on the board against Ryan's smaller creatures. You kind of saw him throw his hand up in the air and he's counting stuff up. Can he survive another turn? Okay, so he's wild slashing there just to get something off the board and actually passing. So I think you were right. It doesn't look like he has any creatures there.
I have a feeling that during his sideboard, he tried to go with his early aggression, at least as early as he could. Right. He sideboarded in just more spells to pump his creatures.
And there's another 8 damage.
Which seems to be the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he's just not drawing creatures now.
Yeah, and he's checking his graveyard. Not sure why, but it looks like he just passed. Oh, nope. Sorry. He is playing out the Lightning Berserker, and it looks like Steven may be responding to it, and he is. Utter End. That's a big game, and that's it. It's done. That was his last-ditch effort. I'm almost certain that was the only creature in Ryan's hand. So
probably sideboarded in those Utter Ends too.
You were talking about it.
You have to against that. I mean, that would have been he counted his graveyard for delve cost.
Mm-hmm.
He probably had the combo in his hand, but unfortunately, Utter Ends just big no to the face.
It's true,
more or less, and you really have to kind of have to watch out for those. He had to make that play.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. He absolutely had to make that play. He had to make something happen to know whether or not it'll go through or not. Turns out it didn't go through. Kind of was the game ender right there. Yeah. But still, played very well. Mm-hmm. Both players played very well to their strengths.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens in game 3.
Yeah.
1-1.
Yeah, so we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back, guys, to the last game of round 4. Again, on Tarka Red, Black White Eldrazi. These two decks are going pretty much at each other's throats at this point. Ryan sideboarded a couple more cards. I'm not exactly sure what he sideboarded in, but if he took a realization of the route he's kind of take, probably sideboarded more creatures because he knows he can get in the early damage. Early, it's what's been happening. He's been getting early damage.
Mm-hmm. He just needs to keep the pressure on.
Once he gets exactly. He needs to keep the pressure on. He only needs maybe like 2, maybe 3 pump spells in his hand, but the rest of it has to be creatures. He has to keep going and going and going and going. Yeah. If he keeps drawing spells, they're just going to be dead cards. Yeah. So you got to sideboard. Hopefully, you sideboard those out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think thankfully, just because as fans of Magic and players of Magic, we've gotten to see both of these decks, in my opinion, at their best. I mean, you saw the game that Steven won, Reality Smasher, Eldrazi Displacer, just down on the board, just beating face. And when Atarka Red won, you saw little creatures getting pumped insanely with Become Immense and Temur Battle Rage to the point where it's out of nowhere. It's completely unexpected.
It's 3 mana kill somebody.
Yes. So now it really is the rubber match. We get to see kind of which deck's strategy wins out this time. But I appreciate that we got to see both of them doing exactly what they were meant to do, exactly what they were made to do.
No creatures out yet.
No, on both sides. Fetch is being cracked as usual.
Wow, I spoke way too soon.
so there are 2 creatures. He did dash out the Lightning Berserker, so it came out and then went away. But it kind of dealt that damage and then retreated.
Good card. That means it can't be targeted.
It's true. And there's a Silk Wrap coming down, getting rid of that one creature that was left on the field. But you do know that Lightning Berserker's there. It can be kind of fire-breathing pumped. Yep. He kind of took that fetch land back, and Abbot of Carol Keep comes out first, just to see he did that in case he got the land off the Abbot, and now plays the fetch that he had kind of wanted to originally, and uses it, cracking it, uses it to put out the Lightning Berserker dashed to deal, again, just some more quick damage out. So. And then putting it back in his hand, and that card will stay exiled, but something that he doesn't necessarily need to worry about. It wasn't a creature, which is great for Ryan.
So at this point, we know he has plenty of dash in his hand. He has that's just constant creature at this point, which is exactly what he needed. So he can just keep going for face every single time.
Yep. And like you said, if he's got one or two, there's another Silk Route coming down on the Abbot of Carrot Keep.
So answers after answers for the creatures, but he still has dash. That's the beauty of dash. If he's got the pump spells, he can just go for just damage.
He doesn't quite have enough for Become Immense plus Temur Battle Rage, but here comes a Zergo and a Lightning Berserker, and they're both attacking.
That means they were both dashed. So he's just going in for early damage.
Yep.
But this essentially what this does is this puts him at a point where he can just dash one creature, pump it up, and then all of a sudden that's game.
Yep. If it's got double strike and trample, if Steven puts out a blocker of some kind, but it's interesting because in game 2, Steven's answer was to get removal, and so in game 3 now, here comes a Mana Reshaper, but in game 3 now, Ryan's answer has been to take removal out of the picture by dashing creatures in and then having them quickly retreat back to his hand at the end of the turn anyway.
Yeah, no, that's the play to make. Now it's like he's thinking about it now. He probably has something in his hand that could deal a lot of damage. At this point, I mean, 4 lands and a red deck is pretty much all you need.
Yeah. And I mean, the Mana Reshaper is out, and again, you can throw that Mana Reshaper in front of anything, because you're looking for the card advantage off the top anyway.
You'd possibly get another creature out of it too, so another blocker. That's
right.
Great.
And we'll see.
What is he going to do?
He thought about something and then put it away, and kind of in the tank a little bit here. I don't blame him, staring down 2 Silk-wrapped creatures, and he puts out the Lightning Berserker. Is it dashed? It is dashed, so he's going to tap it.
Can he pump it?
Well, I mean, he can at least pump it off of its own ability just to kill the Mana Reshaper. Offers the trade into a second Mana Reshaper. That is unlucky if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that's just luck of the game right there. Sometimes it really is luck. Top deck for the win.
Yeah, and I mean, Ryan seemed more than happy to get rid of that Lightning Berserker just to get the threat of the Mana Reshaper off the field. And here comes a Thought-Knot Seer. Just more pressure, more threats.
Ryan still has a reaction out of this. He's got 2 untapped lands that he want to get certain things out of his hand. In this case, if he plays a card but doesn't get a whole lot, maybe kill the
Mana Reshaper. He could, but again, you could be giving him card advantage off of that, and so you have to kind of think about it. Here's an Atarka's Command. So damage has been dealt. It was beforehand, so it looks like Zergo, a Roast, and a Temur Battle Rage, and the Roast is the card that's being picked to go to exile. So that is staying in the exile zone. We see the other 2 cards in his hand, so he does still have a creature, but only one left in Zergo. Yeah. And here comes the Mana Reshaper dealing some damage. Next turn,
he's got to top deck something big.
It's true, because Zergo's not going to be enough. If he top deck
would become immense, this could be it.
It could, but otherwise he's staring down up to 6 damage.
Top deck's Played
the land. I don't know that I would have played that land. I might have kept that hidden, as a bluff for your opponent.
It's true. I was like, all right. And then...
You know what he has in his hand, so he doesn't need the mana.
It's true.
So he might have tried to keep it as a bluff. Otherwise, literally everything in his hand is known to his opponent right now. And a Mirror Pool coming down on Steven's side, as well as a Seagate Wreckage. So something else that Steven could kind of use to just create duplicates here. He's stacking his lands.
5.
Tapping 5 and using the Mirror Pool, creating a copy of the Thought-Knot Seer. So, kind of...
wants to get rid of as much... Any creatures, really.
Plus the fact that he has a second 4/4 now on the field. I mean, that's 10 damage on his side. And
right now, becoming immense doesn't look like it's doing much at this point.
No, and again, we see those same 2 cards. Steven knew what they were. He's getting rid of the Battle Rage, letting him keep the creature, but having no benefit from it at all.
Now he can't give his creatures trample.
Exactly.
So it was a good play.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. And 6 damage just came to him.
Even if he does draw the Become Immense, he can't. Draws the Dragon Fodder.
So Zergo's still in his hand. He's passing with Zergo in his hand. He's got 2 blockers on 3 creatures. 2 damage can still get through if nothing else changes. If there's just an attack here for 10. But it looks like Steven's checking some mana.
He's hoping for a top deck.
Well, I don't know that he might not even get a chance. We'll see what Steven's got in store. Whether he's going to attack or whether he's going to play something first.
He's trying to probably figure out a way he can kill him right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best option he has.
Of course. Yeah, because you definitely don't want a Tarka Red to get going, but
he's got 2 creatures. Yeah, Tarka Red's got 2 creatures.
Eldrazi Displacer. So if you
has enough mana,
if you blink,
thought not.
Is he going to blink it? He's blinking one of the tokens, and it would come back into play tapped, but it's a token. It would go into another zone, so it just goes away. Stopping a blocker, he has to take 6 damage. Steven's kind of pointing it out to him. What's Ryan going to do as a response? Nothing.
Nope.
He has to scoop it up.
Couldn't get going. Couldn't get something off the top deck for Become Immense.
Yeah.
Had the trample. Had the double strike. Didn't have Become Immense. Didn't have that combo that pretty much solidified game 1.
Mm-hmm. I loved the strategy though. I think the strategy was really great on both sides.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, in between game 1 and 2 after Steven lost, putting if he put in that removal, if maybe he just didn't see the other end game 1, but was able to have the flaying tendrils and the other end to kind of get rid of all of Ryan's creatures early. But then Ryan coming back and realizing that this removal is what's taking care of me, so I'm going to dash creatures in and then bring them back, and it worked.
It was a very good play. It's just he was essentially. I felt like he was essentially like one card off from lethal.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt like it was that the entire time. It was like the pressure was there to draw Become Immense. If he had, and that could have been game ending. If he just unfortunately some part of this game is luck.
Well, and that's where that Matter Reshaper into Matter Reshaper comes in. That was I mean, you could tell Ryan definitely got rid of that Lightning Berserker to say, look, I need this Matter Reshaper off the field. It doesn't matter what he gets off the top, but it can't be. I can't have this Matter Reshaper. And then he got the second Matter Reshaper. So again, bad luck of the draw, but at the same time, great
play
match.
from both players.
Exactly.
Great play.
Exactly. I loved both decks. I loved the pilots of both decks. I think they did an amazing job. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this. We have 2 more rounds to go, so you guys will see those videos as soon as they come out, or now, depending on when you're watching this. But otherwise, as we always say here from the channel, in whichever video you watch next,
we will see you all next time.
Thanks guys.